A soft voice called out, "Leader, I continue the report. We have captured a person who may be related to the young master's disappearance." Inside the bundle, a whimpering sound could be heard. After unwrapping it, Zhang Yonglin appeared, looking haggard. His mouth was tightly stuffed with a piece of cloth, preventing him from crying out. Chu Tianhe, furious, grabbed Zhang Yonglin by the head. He removed the gag, causing Zhang to cough uncomfortably a few times. The subordinate continued the report, "Leader, we discovered this kid selling these pieces of equipment." Two men behind him dropped a pile of items from two large bags onto the ground. Upon seeing the items, Chu Tianhe's expression darkened immediately. He couldn't help but feel enraged, seizing Zhang Yonglin by the collar and shouting, "Zhang Yonglin!" Zhang Yonglin let out a pained cry, "Eh?" One person, shocked, spoke up, "I remember this equipment very well, it includes items from Fongkong and Kongshan." Unable to contain himself any longer, Chu Tianhe shouted in interrogation, "Where is my son? Where is my son?" Zhang Yonglin replied wearily, "I don't know what you're talking about." Hearing this, Chu Tianhe flew into a rage. He forcefully threw Zhang Yonglin towards the railing, his voice booming with anger, "Huh? Very good. You don't know, huh? Every piece of equipment from Sky River Group has a special mark. You have the guts to sell them and yet claim you don't know?" At that moment, the subordinate spoke softly, "Leader, judging by the extent of damage to these pieces of equipment, it seems likely that something happened to Kongshan and his team." He began to analyze. The traces here appear to have been made by a level 6 Fong Wolf. But with Kongshan's experience, a level 6 Fong Wolf shouldn't pose a threat to them. Chu Tianhe's voice turned cold as he asked, "Are you saying that Kongshan and his team were killed by someone else?" The subordinate hesitated and said, "With Kongshan's strength, even he couldn't escape death. Young master, he..." Hearing this, Chu Tianhe grabbed the armor covered in claw marks. Shocked and in anguish, he repeated, "With Kongshan's strength, even he couldn't escape death. Young master, he..." The leader's face darkened, and the subordinate continued, "We've discovered. All of this equipment was consigned to him for sale by one person. That person is..." Hearing the name, Chu Tianhe roared in fury, "Zhou Zhang! I will tear you into 100 pieces." The flames of hatred seemed to engulf the entire mansion. Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang was making his way toward headquarters 1. From afar, someone called out, "Zhou brother." Meeting again, Chang Zhan greeted him cheerfully, "I didn't expect that in such a short time, you and your team have made this place so lively." Zhou Zhang responded, "It's all thanks to everyone's collective effort." Chang Zhan lowered his voice and asked, "So, the opportunity you mentioned, surely it isn't just asking me to come up here and sell equipment, is it?" Hearing that, Zhou Zhang drew out his dagger and said, "Chang brother, do you still remember this extraordinary blade?" Seeing the weapon had evolved significantly, Chang Zhan was a bit taken aback. He trembled as he lifted the blade in his hand, his voice filled with astonishment, "How is this possible? The conductivity has exceeded 40% already." Zhou Zhang gently replied, "I discovered a person here. He has the technique to upgrade conductivity based on the mosaic technique." Chang Zhan's eyes lit up, "I want to meet this person. No matter the cost, I want to meet him." Zhou Zhang softly said, "I'm only responsible for introducing you to. As for what happens next, that depends on you." After a while, Zhou Zhang leisurely sat down to eat a bowl of noodles while waiting for the two of them to discuss matters. From a distance, Chang Zhan called out loudly, "Boss! You're waving goodbye cheerfully. We have to return to Titan City first." Behind him was Gu Jinyi, and they both looked a bit hurried. Zhou Zhang asked lightly, "Are you heading back now? Aren't you staying for a night?" Chang Zhan put his arm around Gu Jinyi's shoulders, grinning with squinted eyes, "Time is gold. Wait for us to make a splash in Titan City." Seeing the two of them rush off, Zhou Zhang muttered to himself, "They are indeed impatient." Suddenly, his phone vibrated. Zhou Zhang glanced at it and softly said, "I don't seem to recognize this number." As soon as he answered, the voice on the other end quietly called his name, Zhou Zhang. He replied, "Yes, I am Zhou Zhang." The mysterious person continued, their voice cold, "Do you know some really bad news? An hour ago, your family was taken hostage by Sky River Group. They are being held at the Sky River Group branch in the 7th district outside the city. Moreover, the Hammer Squad has only 3 survivors left." Hearing this, Zhou Zhang asked cautiously, "Who are you?" The voice on the other end chuckled mockingly, Don't worry about who I am. If you're messing with Sky River Group, you should have thought about the consequences sooner. I've delivered the message, whether you believe it or not is up to you. If you're late, you'll only be left to collect their bodies." With that, the mysterious person hung up immediately. Feeling anxious, Zhou Zhang called the Hammer Squad, but all he got was the sound of the phone ringing hopelessly. They were lying in the rubble, with no signs of life. Zhou Zhang's face darkened as he thought, neither side is answering. It seems something has really happened. In the deep of night, Zhou Zhang rushed forward. He shouted the name with rage, "Sky River Group." Inside the holding cell, a loud noise shattered the silence. The henchman opened the door and roughly shoved 2 people inside, shouting, "Get in there! Behave yourselves!" Recognizing the others, Xiao Hong exclaimed, "Miss Su! Lan Shi! Why are you both here?" One of the henchmen glanced at the guards, reminding them, "Be careful. If anything happens, blow the whistle immediately." The 2 guards replied, "Don't worry." At that moment, Zhou Zhang had approached the villa. He sat quietly on a high branch, his cold eyes fixed on the target below. This is the destination. Zhou Zhang activated his stealth ability and slipped inside. He overheard 2 guards chatting. Today, those unlucky guys who knows what they did wrong ended up locked in the 11th floor, the most secure level. I heard they crossed the leader. Didn't you notice? Even their escorts were all level 8 or higher. Quickly, Zhou Zhang deduced that his target was on the 11th floor. Just then, one of the guards at the main prison entrance called out, "I'm going to the restroom. Watch carefully." The other responded curtly, "Got it." Moments later, one of the guards hurried off, clearly in a rush. He passed right by the stealth-cloaked Zhou Zhang without noticing a thing. In the restroom, the guard was yawning lazily while relieving himself. Suddenly, Zhou Zhang appeared behind him. Moving swiftly, Zhou Zhang subdued him before the guard could react, leaving him to emit a faint groan before collapsing unconscious. After neutralizing the guard, Zhou Zhang searched his body but frowned in disappointment when he found no keys. He muttered under his breath, "Looks like without the key, I can't open it." Left with no alternative, Zhou Zhang tried using his dagger to pry open the door. Meanwhile, the guard who had gone to the restroom returned. Seeing the empty hallway, he was startled. Where did he go? As he turned around, Zhou Zhang emerged from behind, fully visible. The faint commotion outside sparked a glimmer of hope among those locked in the cells. With a confident smile, Zhou Zhang strode forward and boldly opened the door. Upon seeing Zhou Zhang, everyone's faces lit up with joy. "Lin," she called out, "young." Zhou Zhang quickly gestured for silence, reminding them, "Shoo. Save it for when we're outside." Moments later, they escaped through the rear exit. Zhou Zhang carried Su Yunwen on his back, followed by Lan Shi and Xiao Hong. In a low voice, he asked, "Are you scared?" Su Yunwen softly replied, "Not at all." She whispered, "Because I knew you'd come to rescue us." Hearing this, Zhou Zhang fell silent, saying nothing more. Meanwhile, back inside, the subordinates had discovered the intrusion. One of them inspected the unconscious guard and urgently shouted, "Quick! The body's still warm, they haven't gotten far. After them." As they reached the city gate, the guard called out loudly, "Who's there?" "No one is allowed to leave the city before dawn." Zhou Zhang calmly replied, "It's me. I have an urgent matter. Please open the gate." Recognizing him, the guard hesitated briefly before saying, "Deputy Captain Zhou?" "Understood." opening it right away. In the blink of an eye, they successfully exited the city. Xiao Hong, seething with anger, spoke through gritted teeth, Sky River Group. If I don't avenge this, I'm not worthy of being called human. Zhou Zhang placed a firm hand on Xiao Heng's shoulder and said solemnly, our brothers died for me. I won't let their deaths be in vain. He continued, his eyes resolute, let's regroup at headquarters 1 first, and then we'll return the favor. Just then, the pursuers from the Sky River Group arrived at the gate, shouting chaotically, open the city gate, now. The guard at the gate retorted bluntly, who do you think you are? This gate doesn't open just because you demand it. As dawn broke, everyone had safely returned to headquarters number 1. Xiao Hong quietly asked, Joe brother, what do you think we should do? I will follow your lead. Zhou Zhang pondered, examining the map before marking a specific area. He slowly said, the Sky River Group has at least several tens of thousands of people. While we can't defeat them all at once, I can take down each team one by one, gradually wearing down their forces. At the same time, the convoy of the Sky River Group was speeding recklessly down the road. Noticing a strange figure ahead, one person shouted, there's prey up ahead. Get ready to fight. However, one of the subordinates, using binoculars, exclaimed in panic, no, no. That's not prey. It's Zhou Zhang. In the distance, Zhou Zhang rode atop a beast, his face filled with murderous intent. He growled, Sky River Group. Then he shouted, come here. Immediately after, Zhou Zhang charged straight into the convoy ahead, the impact so forceful that they were sent flying into the air. In the following days, similar incidents occurred continuously. A worried subordinate reported to Chu Tianhe, Boss Chu, Zhou Zhang has been causing trouble for our hunting teams these past few days. Our brothers have suffered heavy casualties. Chu Tianhe, furious, slammed his hand on the table and ordered, pass the word down. Every team that goes out must have a high-level martial artist accompanying them. Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang was leisurely sitting and enjoying the breeze, watching the beasts roam the grasslands. Xiao Hong stood beside him, unable to hide his curiosity, and asked, at this hour, why hasn't the Sky River Group's convoy shown up yet? Zhou Zhang calmly said, it seems our harassment has had an effect, let's head back to the headquarters. Xiao Hong looked confused and asked, why is that? Zhou Zhang mounted the beast, thought for a moment, and replied, they must have realized they need to send a high-level martial artist out. We won't gain anything from this. Suddenly, his phone kept ringing. On the other end, Chu Tianhe shouted angrily, Zhou Zhang, I will definitely kill you. Hearing this, Zhou Zhang chuckled and responded, leader, to be honest, I've grown tired of playing around these past few days. How about we discuss some practical matters? He bluntly stated, for example, within 3 days, you alone must bring 10 high-level purple crystals to headquarters number 1 in exchange for your son. Chu Tianhe suddenly froze, jumped up, and yelled, what did you say? My son is not dead yet. Zhou Zhang reminded him, remember, you must come alone, otherwise, I will kill the hostage. At this moment, Xiao Hong peeked in and asked softly, wasn't Chu Xiong already dead? Zhou Zhang replied with amusement, if I said that, how could I lure him in? I want to directly destroy the entire Sky River Group. But at that moment, a message appeared on Zhou Zhang's phone. The content read, Chu Tianhe may die, but Sky River cannot fall, it doesn't matter who the leader is, only whether the Sky River Group exists. At that moment, a man softly reported to Mo Wu, the city lord has handled everything smoothly. Mo Wu let out a weary sigh. That Zhou Zhang really knows how to keep people on edge. The old subordinate thought it was normal for young people to act a bit impulsively. Returning to his room, Mo Wu leaned his head tiredly against the chair and spoke, initially, allowing the Sky River Group to grow was just to create a counterforce against Tong Ding Corporation. But ever since Chu Tianhe lost his son, the entire Sky River Group has been acting recklessly. Mo Wu reflected that if Chu Tianhe could no longer bring benefits to Titan City, then he was no longer suitable to sit in the leader's chair. Meanwhile, Chu Tianhe was heading alone toward headquarters 1 as per the arrangement. Upon arrival, he roared loudly, where's Zhou Zhang? I'm here, get out here, now. From above, Zhou Zhang couldn't help but comment to himself, he got here fast. Carrying his weapon with a wide grin, he called out, no rush. Let me give you a little clue. He pressed a button, and a powerful explosion erupted just behind Chu Tianhe, startling him. Seeing Chu Tianhe leap across buildings to close the distance, Zhou Zhang remarked quietly, as expected of a peak level 9 martial artist. That speed is something else. Thinking for a moment, Zhou Zhang suddenly ran towards the deserted prairie. He only stopped at a stretch of forest's edge. Chu Tianhe was still relentlessly pursuing him. Zhou Zhang smirked and said, all right, let's stay here. Chu Tianhe shouted angrily, where is my son? Speak quickly, and I can make your death comfortable. Zhou Zhang calmly took out an item and said, don't rush, let me show you a little magic trick first. He added, this is a water crystal fruit, a very rare mutated plant. Of course, the star power it emits is what high-level mutated beasts crave the most. Hearing this, Chu Tianhe felt somewhat confused. He irritably shouted, stop pretending and hand over my son. Zhou Zhang casually juggled the water crystal fruit and mocked, Chu Tianhe, you truly are a character, but it's a pity that in the end, you are still entangled by your own son. Upon hearing this, Chu Tianhe became even more furious, what do you mean by that? Zhou Zhang replied quite gently, haven't you realized that since you recklessly went to find your son, most of the Sky River group has already turned against you? Even the city lord has abandoned you. Zhou Zhang continued, sneering, you've been poked right in your weak spot. Chu Tianhe growled, you're talking nonsense. Zhou Zhang calmly responded, I'm not talking nonsense. If it weren't for the city lord personally instructing to keep the Sky River group intact, you would have been able to let me handle things as I pleased. I only lured you out here alone. Is it really that troublesome? At that time, Chu Tianhe was gradually losing his patience, a murderous rage enveloping his entire body. Chu Tianhe shouted angrily, you lured me out, so everything you said was a lie? My son. Zhou Zhang then asked, do you want to see your son? He produced an item and said, look, this is probably the only thing left on him. Seeing the mocking diaper, Chu Tianhe growled, Zhou Zhang. Then, he rushed towards Zhou Zhang, simultaneously shouting in fury, I will chop you into 100 pieces. At that moment, Zhou Zhang calmly tossed a crystal into the air, and a gigantic super beast was immediately summoned, its eyes glowing with an incredibly powerful aura. Zhou Zhang continued, smirking, I forgot to mention, there are many high-level mutated beasts behind me. Chu Tianhe strained to swing his sword, but it was not enough to even scratch the white lion. Zhou Zhang smirked and said, let's have some fun, don't forget to ask about your son over there for me. Seeing Zhou Zhang disappear right before his eyes, Chu Tianhe couldn't help but be astonished, how is this possible? How could he do that? He still had to busy himself with the white lion. As if that weren't enough, a chameleon several times larger than the white lion was eyeing it, opening its enormous mouth and flicking its tongue, ready to swallow the delicious prey that was Chu Tianhe. At a restaurant outside the city, people were buzzing with conversation. I heard that Sky River Group is about to choose a new leader. Chu Tianhe has been missing for half a month now, probably just like his son. They raised the question, could it be that the father and son are cursed or something? Zhou Zhang silently brushed past them without saying a word. Upon entering the shop, a cheerful voice greeted him, hello, Zhou brother. Zhou Zhang coldly replied, get me a level 8 room. The staff member immediately responded, yes, sir. Zhou Zhang thought to himself that this time he could probably reach level 7, and his robe level could also conveniently rise to level 60. After receiving the room key, he promptly entered, slammed the door shut, and began his training. Just half an hour later, Zhou Zhang emerged, much to the astonishment of the staff member, and returned to the peaceful house. Lan Shi eagerly asked, young master, have you leveled up to level 7? Behind him, Su Yunwen was watching closely. At that moment, Zhou Zhang had reached level 60 and become a level 7 martial artist. He proudly replied, that's right, Lan Shi, you should keep trying too. Lan Shi shyly scratched his head, I always try my best, but I don't have the same talent as you, young master. Zhou Zhang placed a hand on Lan Shi's shoulder and said, I have to go away for a while. During this time, you and Xiao Heng should train, I'll leave the household matters to you. Hearing this, Lan Shi was a bit surprised but quickly responded, Huh? Yes, young master, don't worry. At that moment, Su Yunwen anxiously spoke up, Young master, you must be careful out there on your own. Zhou Zhang gently patted her head and reassured her, Don't worry, everyone should take care of themselves, don't make me worry about you. Stepping outside, a member asked in astonishment, So, you're just going to leave like that? Aren't you afraid your little butler will be heartbroken? Zhou Zhang replied immediately, Brother Zhou, stop joking. Yunwen isn't selfish like that. Besides, this time, partnering with the Beast King Alliance is a rare opportunity. I don't want to miss it. Xiang Shirhan, visibly annoyed, said, Leader, you're being overly cautious. This collaboration with the Red Tripod business is already very secure. You could totally return to your little butler. Zhou Zhang hesitated, wondering to himself, did I upset her somehow? At that moment, another member stroked his chin and remarked, I heard that the last time leader Han Zhangdong and his team attempted to clear the pathway between Titan and the burial ground, they suffered heavy losses. None of us dared boast about it. With Brother Zhou helping this time, the chances of success are much higher. Looking back, Lian Ping Zhang mentioned that if they could successfully open the route between the burial ground and Titan, the two places could establish a commercial partnership. He pointed at the map and asked, Do you realize how enormous the profits would be? Zhou Zhang responded, Profits? I'm afraid the Beast King Alliance won't be able to handle it all. That's why you turned to the Red Tripod business. The Alliance leader interjected, and you, of course. This is a fair partnership, after all. How do we divide the profits from this pathway? Zhou Zhang nodded in agreement, sealing the deal. At that moment, Xiang Shirhan began calling his name repeatedly, Zhou Zhang. Zhou Zhang. Zhou Zhang jolted awake to find Xiang Shirhan right in front of him. He felt a bit flustered. Ha! He exclaimed, looking at Xiang Shirhan in surprise. Xiang Shirhan, annoyed, said, How many times have I called you? Were you asleep? Zhou Zhang awkwardly stepped back and replied, No, I was just thinking about some things. Xiang Shirhan softly asked, Where's your iron armor cow? Zhou Zhang, feeling embarrassed, said, Oh? It's in a safe place. He thought to himself, Can I say it's in my bonded space? The system's items can't really be explained to others. Hearing this, Xiang Shirhan felt even more confused. A safe place? She asked. In Zhou Zhang's bonded space, a bag interface appeared, showing a slot for the iron armor cow, while the slots for levels 100, 150, and 200 remained locked. He thought, a level 60 rogue has unlocked the pet feature, sending pets is much more convenient, but taking them out in front of others is still a hassle. Xiang Shirhan gently said, Your iron armor cow really isn't suitable to bring here. After all, this mission is very important. If anything happens to these tamed exotic beasts, it would be hard to handle. Seizing the opportunity, Zhou Zhang replied, That's right. The vehicles continued to speed down the road, and one person spoke up ahead is the red zone, we need to walk through there. A member with a sharp haircut reminded loudly, It's very dangerous up ahead, everyone must stay alert and not get separated from the group. After that, all the members got off the vehicle and walked through the wreckage. Each of them was filled with a powerful surge of energy. The member with the spiky hair spoke up, There's trouble ahead. At that moment, a large zombie let out a roar that shook the ground. The member with the spiky hair quietly warned, This is tough, the black rats are gathering, and this toxic creature might attract many more rats here. As soon as he finished speaking, the zombie ferociously swung a powerful fist. Immediately, a swarm of rats appeared, their eyes gleaming with murderous intent. The remaining rats began to chase after the group that had come from Titan City. Han Zhangdong ordered everyone to stay close, and he quickly ran up to the next level. The group fled from the rats. While running, a gigantic rat attempted to charge at Shirhan. Fortunately, Zhou Zhang managed to pull her out of the way just in time. Shirhan hurriedly expressed her gratitude. Zhou Zhang looked around and said, "Be a little more careful next time, I can't look after you forever." Upon reaching a rooftop, Han Jiangdong instructed everyone to jump to the opposite building. Once all the martial artists had jumped over, only Shirhan and Zhou Zhang remained. Shirhan was terrified, she didn't dare to jump from such a height. What should I do? I can't. Zhou Zhang immediately clasped his hands together to create a platform for Shirhan to leap to the other side. Just as Shirhan hesitated, unsure whether to jump or not, the sound of the rats was right at the door behind them. Zhou Zhang shouted loudly, "Stop talking and jump now." Shirhan had no choice but to take a few steps back, gaining momentum to leap onto Zhou Zhang's hands, vaulting over to the roof of the opposite building. Han Jiangdong was also extremely anxious. As soon as Shirhan jumped over, he poked his head out and called for Zhou Zhang to follow. "Zhou Zhang, come over here quickly." To his surprise, Zhou Zhang remained standing still, telling everyone to go ahead and that he would contact them later. Han Jiangdong yelled, "What are you trying to do?" Shirhan urged Zhou Zhang, "Hurry over here, we can escape." Zhou Zhang looked at the door that had been battered by the rats until it was deformed. He told everyone to look down below, "The whole city is overrun with rats, if no one lures them away, no one will be able to escape." Following Zhou Zhang's instructions, Han Jiangdong looked down and saw a massive swarm of rats scurrying around in every corner. The rooftop door had just been smashed open by them, and a horde of rats immediately began to frantically chase after Zhou Zhang. As Zhou Zhang ran, he cursed, "If you filthy beasts want to eat me, make sure to keep up." Zhou Zhang jumped to one rooftop and then swung himself down below. He pulled a grappling hook from his gear, wrapped it around a billboard on the opposite side, and launched himself into the air. Han Jiangdong observed the entire scene, breathing a sigh of relief and muttering, "This kid is really hard to understand." The swarm of rats was still madly pursuing Zhou Zhang, and Shirhan was very worried. She asked the leader of the alliance, "Is Zhou Zhang going to be okay?" Han Jiangdong remarked that with his skills, protecting himself was certainly not an issue. At this moment, he turned to Shirhan and teased, "Even the beauty of the Beast King alliance has learned to care for others now?" Shirhan was startled and stammered in response, "And not at all. Just now, he fell behind because of me, so I was just worried, that's all." Hearing her awkward explanation, Han Jiangdong interrupted her, "It's fine. Showing concern for others isn't a bad thing." He then commanded everyone to move out together, determined not to waste the opportunity Zhou Zhang had created for them. As Zhou Zhang ran, he hurled grenades, blasting the swarm of rats into oblivion. Reaching a rooftop, Zhou Zhang thought to himself, "This should be far enough from the martial artist group." The swarm of rats still rushed toward him relentlessly. Standing before them, Zhou Zhang casually said, "Even though you're all so enthusiastic, I don't have time to play with you right now." Zhou Zhang opened his bag and summoned the iron armor cow to join the fight. A gigantic bull with massive, muscular shoulders charged toward the rat horde. Without hesitation, Zhou Zhang climbed onto its back. A colossal rat emerged from the opposite side, blocking Zhou Zhang's path. It let out a few sharp cries before leaping toward the bull. The bull lowered its head, releasing a burst of spiritual power from its horns that pierced straight through the giant rat's abdomen. The monstrous rat collapsed, its eyes spinning dizzily in its sockets. After completing a hell-level mission, Zhou Zhang formed a close relationship with the Beast King Alliance. Today, Zhou Zhang was assigned to go on a mission with the alliance leader, Han Jiangdong. While Zhou Zhang was busy fighting black rats, Han Jiangdong remained seated in the corner of a nearby building, waiting. As they returned, no one knew if Zhou Zhang had encountered any trouble. Captain Zhou Hua noticed Shirhan looking extremely worried. She spoke up, "Alliance leader, is Zhou Zhang really going to be alright?" Han Jiangdong reassured her, "Don't worry, I know him well. He never takes on something he's not confident about." Shirhan stood on a high floor, gazing down at the city below. When she finally spotted Zhou Zhang, she shouted as if greeting her long-lost parent, "It's Zhou Zhang." Han Jiangdong responded, "Let's head down to meet him." Captain Zhou Hua showered praise, "Zhou Zhang is incredible, well done, my friend." Han Zhengdong added, that's right. It's all thanks to him this time, but we're about to enter the central area of the red zone ahead. Everyone, be extremely cautious. A subordinate rushed over to report to Captain Zhou and Alliance leader Han that they had discovered a usable oil tanker at a nearby gas station. Han Zhengdong checked the map and said, if I'm not mistaken, there's a road ahead that's suitable for vehicle movement. Han Zhengdong's team then used the oil tanker to drive into the heart of the red zone. At that moment, a ferocious hawk circled overhead. Zhou Zhang immediately used a rifle to shoot it straight through the heart. Han Zhengdong, surprised, remarked, I didn't expect you to not only be skilled with a bow but also a sniper rifle. Zhou Zhang humbly replied, I'm just making do. This time, I didn't bring my stellar bow, so I had to borrow your gun to show off a little. Han Zhengdong said, by tomorrow, we should be within range of the burial site. Han Zhengdong took charge of the night's duties, assigning himself and Zhou Hua to stand guard, and instructed everyone else, go get some rest early. That night, Zhou Zhang and Shirhan sat outside on the balcony, gazing at the sky. They noticed a cluster of seeds shooting upward and scattering everywhere. Shirhan asked, what's that? It's so beautiful. Zhou Zhang, with a sly smile, explained, those are the seeds of a certain plant. When they're ripe, they shoot out and scatter everywhere. They do this at night because the cool air helps protect the seeds better than the daytime heat. Shirhan cheerfully complimented him, you know so much, Zhou Zhang. Zhou Zhang replied modestly, just a little. However, he quickly added, actually, everything I just said was made up. I don't know anything about it. Shirhan, now speaking softly, said, thank you, Zhou Zhang. Waving his hand dismissively, Zhou Zhang replied, didn't you already thank me? Besides, if it were me in danger, wouldn't you save me too? Shirhan walked back inside, then turned her head and said, not so sure about that. The next day, along the highway, a one-eyed boss ordered his subordinates to check around the area. He commanded, anyone still alive must be killed. His subordinates checked the bodies one by one, and only when they found no one alive did they stop. Just then, Zhou Zhang's oil tanker truck sped by. One of the subordinates told the boss, the oil truck has seen what we've done. Should we chase it? The one-eyed boss ordered, all men in the city, follow that oil truck. Han Zhengdong, sitting in the driver's seat, turned around and told the others, up ahead is the southern town, one of the 4 headquarters of the burial site. Zhou Zhang, sitting on the oil tank, noticed Li Qing, clearly at level 6, fighting a mutated horned wolf of level 7 at the edge of the forest. Zhou Zhang was taken aback as he saw that Li Qing didn't even use star power, yet still managed to kill the level 7 mutated beast, and the attack seemed almost effortless, as if she hadn't even used her full strength. Zhou Zhang excitedly remarked, this burial site is indeed no ordinary place. Captain Zhou Hua, upon seeing the first headquarters of the burial site, was also surprised. Its scale was nearly as large as Titan City. Zhou Zhang couldn't help but be amazed, saying, I thought the burial site scale was only similar to Titan City, but now it seems I was too naive. Shirhan eagerly asked Han Zhengdong, do you think we'll reach the burial site today? Han Zhengdong replied, we can get there, but there's no need to rush. I'll take everyone to see some new things first. Han Zhengdong led them to an airport. The spacecrafts there had very strange shapes, resembling flying saucers. Han Zhengdong laughed loudly, seeing the surprised expressions of the martial artists, and asked, I guess you've never tried this before, right? The group quickly lined up to buy tickets. Once on board the spacecraft, Zhou Zhang turned to ask the captain, I've heard that these spacecraft aren't only in the southern town, but are also present at other burial site facilities. Is that true? Captain Zhou nodded in agreement but added, the ticket prices are a bit high, but given the scale of one headquarters, I can't even imagine how large the burial site itself must be. The spacecraft took off. Shirhan was absolutely thrilled but still a little scared, so she clung to Zhou Zhang. She shouted excitedly, is this what it feels like to fly? Zhou Zhang, do you feel it? Shirhan called out to everyone, pointing out the window as the spacecraft soared among the clouds. It's so beautiful. Zhou Zhang, curious, commented, It's beautiful, but I'm a bit puzzled. What happens if this flying vehicle encounters mutated beasts? No sooner had Zhou Zhang finished speaking than the spacecraft began to shake. The pilot immediately announced, "A group of flying beasts has appeared at the 3 o'clock position. Preliminary assessment indicates they are level 5 flamingo-like creatures." The guards of the spacecraft quickly rushed to the top of the vessel. Zhou Zhang scratched his head and muttered, "Guess I really spoke too soon." As the flock of flamingos drew closer to the ship, one of the guards attached a white device to a crossbow. When the device was fired, a large net shot out, trapping the birds. The flamingos scattered in a panic, and the guard announced that the danger had been neutralized. Zhou Zhang, watching the flock retreat, was surprised. Is it really that easy to resolve? He then recalled the image of Li Qing effortlessly killing the mutated horned wolf earlier at the forest's edge and began to vaguely understand the special nature of the burial site. The secret was surely tied to the weapons the martial artists here possessed. Zhou Zhang observed as the guard walked past him, and he immediately followed, curious to learn more. Zhou Zhang pulled out a cigarette and offered one to the guard. "Thanks for your hard work, brother," he said. The guard, without hesitation, accepted the cigarette. "Thanks, buddy." Zhou Zhang then asked candidly, "Hey, can I ask you something? Where did you get that metal projectile you just used?" The guard chuckled. Hee, looks like you're new to the burial site, huh?" Zhou Zhang was straightforward in his reply. "Actually, I just arrived from Titan City." The guard scratched his head, searching his memory. Titan City. I don't think I've heard of it. It must be a small place, huh? Zhou Zhang raised an eyebrow, exasperated. A small place, you say? Titan City is quite impressive, you know. The guard raised the crossbow with the metallic projectile and, seeing Zhou Zhang's surprised expression, he grinned, knowing that this wasn't something that needed to be kept secret. He proudly explained, "This is a specially crafted projectile made from a metal alloy. We've been refining this alloy for a year now. It comes in various levels of strength, but even the weakest version is significantly stronger than regular metals we used before." Noticing Zhou Zhang's astonishment, the guard grew even more enthusiastic and continued, "We categorize the strength of this alloy based on its armor-piercing capability, meaning its ability to breach defenses. The higher the armor-piercing value, the greater the damage it can deal. But of course, the price increases as well." He then elaborated, "Earlier, we used an alloy with an armor-piercing value of 8 to scare off the flock of birds. This material is equivalent to the total profit from a single voyage." Zhou Zhang was taken aback by the guard's words. The guard waved his hand dismissively, "Actually, flying 10 times wouldn't necessarily bring such a situation. So, the airline company won't lose money on this." Zhou Zhang returned to the cabin and recounted the story he had just heard to Captain Zhou Hua. Captain Zhou Hua was equally shocked. "Seems like the folks from Titan City are still like frogs in a well. If they can synthesize this kind of metal, hunting in the tiered rift would be much easier." Zhou Zhang said, "Not necessarily." He thought to himself, a piercing weapon needs to be wielded by a martial artist with corresponding abilities to fully unleash its value. For example, a level 1 martial artist can only exert the power of a piercing weapon with a level 2 or lower piercing value, but in the future, having a combat piercing weapon will definitely be much stronger. Shirhan asked Han Jiangdong a question she had been curious about for a long time: "Why is this place called a burial site?" Han Jiangdong did not answer this question, he only told everyone that they were almost there, and when they arrived, they would understand for themselves. Half an hour later, the spaceship flew over an area filled with bones. Those following Han Jiangdong were all extremely surprised. It turned out that this was the reason it was called a burial site. Zhou Zhang looked at the pile of bones stacked on top of each other and asked, "What kind of catastrophic event did this city go through to accumulate so many animal bones?" As soon as Zhou Zhang finished speaking, an announcement came from the spaceship that they had arrived at the burial site. Han Jiangdong's team was staying at the Grand Hotel in District 11 of the burial site. Upon arrival, they were warmly welcomed by the female staff. Team leader Zhou Hua and Zhou Zhang felt shy, while Shirhan looked at them with eyes full of anger. Han Jiangdong held out several rune cards for everyone to choose from. Zhou Zhang took one card and said, "Then I want to go rest first." Zhou Zhan was just about to step into his room when two girls blocked his way. One of them asked, "Do you need a massage service?" The other added, "Our place offers very comfortable services." Zhou Zhen quickly waved his hand and said, "I don't need it." Shirhan blushed shyly, feeling angry at Han Jiangdong for insisting on finding this hotel. Zhou Zhang went up to his room, but his mind kept wandering back to the metal complex at the burial site. He realized, my perspective is still too narrow, just like playing a game, when you switch to a different map, everything starts over. The metal complex was truly a surprise for me. But Zhou Zhang believed that there are countless other surprises here. The burial site intrigued him immensely. The burial site was a completely new and fascinating city for Zhou Zhang. He felt like a fish in water, wandering around every day in search of training opportunities, and fortune smiled upon him. Zhou Zhang joined one of the most famous battle teams at the 4th headquarters of the burial site. The next morning, Han Jiangdong took a subordinate out to check on the incubation of the beast eggs and the issue of trade permits. Zhou Zhang and his team had to go see the incubation of the beast eggs and the trade permits for the Way of the Spear. Goodbye for now. Everyone take care. Zhou Zhang and his team leader, Zhou Hua, stood at the hotel door, reminding everyone be careful. Han Jiangdong had just left, and Zhou Zhang also spoke to Captain Zhou. "I need to stay here for a while, please take good care of things at Titan City." Captain Zhou Hua patted his chest and replied, "As long as I'm here, no one will dare touch your friends and family." Zhou Zhan wandered the streets of the burial place, realizing, the commercial atmosphere here is truly something Titan City can't compare to. Zhou Zhang visited an auction house and bought a city map for the price of a high-level white star crystal. The shopkeeper then introduced a more detailed electronic map, which could be bought for a high-level blue star crystal. "Hey, I also have a more advanced electronic map, more detailed. It's a paper map, but also comes with 3D charts and various mutated creatures. Actually, it's not expensive, only one high-level blue crystal." Zhou Zhang tried the electronic map and found it far more convenient than the paper version. "It's indeed more convenient than the paper map. I'll take it." Zhou Zhang decided to complete the purchase. After buying the map, he exited and hailed a carriage. "Hello, where would you like to go?" "To the large equipment street in the 9th district." When the shopkeeper saw Zhou Zhang entering, he introduced that all the equipment here had price tags. "Would you like us to bring out some items for you to see?" Zhou Zhang looked at a dagger with a value of level 5 armor piercing and then asked, "How do I determine the value of this?" The staff member lifted the dagger from the display case and placed a measuring device on it. Immediately, the device showed the armor-piercing value of level 5 and a conductivity rate of 27%. Zhou Zhang held the dagger in his hand, thinking to himself, "This is just a level 5 armor-piercing dagger, and it's being sold for 15 high-level purple star crystals." Zhou Zhang returned the dagger to the staff member. "I'd like to check out some other places, thank you. I'll look elsewhere." The staff member happily nodded, "Of course. Thank you for visiting." 6 hours later, Zhou Zhang sighed, wandering the streets. As expected, armor-piercing weapons need to be purple crystal or above. The money I've saved up in Titan City might seem like upper class there, but here, in this burial place, it's barely considered middle class. Zhou Zhang entered an auction house. The host announced, "The next item is the second to last one in our auction today. This is the first auction room of ours." The host continued, "Earlier, a martial artist sent us a block of metal alloy to be auctioned." The crowd below immediately grew excited. "It's definitely worth coming here today. To be brought up to this auction, this metal must be no less than level 5. The host removed the white cloth. Inside the box was a block of metal alloy with a diameter of 10 cm and a thickness of 2 cm. "How much is its armor-piercing value?" The people in the crowd immediately complained, "It's so small, and they're auctioning it? I'm used to long blades, this block of metal wouldn't even make up half a sword." Zhou Zhang stared at the metal block inside the box. With this size, he could make a dagger. The host announced, the armor-piercing value of this metal block is 11. Compared to the highest value of 13, it's only 2 points lower. The crowd below immediately reacted with surprise such a small piece of metal had such a high value. On stage, the host announced that the starting price would be one high-level purple star crystal. Zhou Zheng thought to himself, I wonder if I should buy this block of metal. Right now, my dagger isn't cutting it. The atmosphere in the auction was intense, and the highest bid for the metal block had already reached 65 high-level purple star crystals. The host was ready to raise the gavel, asking if anyone else wanted to bid. Zhou Zheng raised his hand and bid 66 high-level star crystals. He had made up his mind and was willing to take a risk to purchase this metal block. After the auction, a staff member pushed the box in front of Zhou Zheng and said, "This is the metal you won at the auction. Please feel free to check it." A man in a hat sitting next to Zhou Zheng commented, "I've been a blacksmith for many years, and I've never encountered a metal with an armor-piercing value of 11. It's a shame it's too small, otherwise, it would be worth much more." Zhou Zheng asked the blacksmith, "With this size, is it enough to make a dagger?" The blacksmith looked up and met Zhou Zheng's gaze, then confidently replied, "I don't know about others, but for Luo Tianshan, this size of metal block is definitely enough to make a dagger." Luo Tianshan looked at the large machine in front of him and spoke, "Zhou brother, it's almost time to start forging." Immediately, a hot liquid began to flow from the nozzle of the machine. Half an hour later, Luo Tianshan wiped the sweat dripping down his face and smiled, saying, "It's done." Looking at the finished product, Luo Tianshan introduced, "With my experience, even though its conductivity may not be the best, it won't be lower than 20%. He then tossed the weapon into the air, and it landed in Zhou Zheng's hand. Zhou Zheng examined it and evaluated, "Feels great. Now let's see if you're a dragon or just a bug." He smiled, staring at the weapon before leaving. Luo Tianshan respectfully bade him farewell, "Zhou brother, take care." After Zhou Zheng left, Luo Tianshan turned to his staff and said, "Clean up in front of the shop in the next few days." The staff member looked confused, "Huh? Why?" Luo Tianshan gazed at Zhou Zheng's departing figure and replied, "Today is truly a lucky day for both of us." A joyful smile spread across Luo Tianshan's face. "This time, the title of the 9-star blacksmith? It's as good as mine." At a nearby base, Zhou Zheng had returned to his place. He entered a room, smiling brightly with a joyful hi-hi, causing the two people sitting beside him to nervously step back. In the western town, Zhou Zheng walked while looking at the screen and said, "This map was worth the purchase. Not only does it mark hunting grounds, but also a few small shops." Suddenly, he noticed a spot on the map. He recalled the time when he had paraglided and thought, "I remember Wei Hang used something like this. Maybe I should get one to keep as a backup." With that thought, he headed to the location marked on the map, bowed his head and greeted, "Is anyone here?" The shopkeeper, seeing him arrive, greeted him warmly, "Oh. Hello, dear customer." The shopkeeper cheerfully introduced the goods in his store. "Are you looking to buy a kite? You've come to the right shop. We have all kinds of kites, flying types, thrust-powered types, and even handheld ones." Zhou Zheng glanced around to check out the items the shopkeeper was showing. The shopkeeper continued, "This is the most premium model in our shop, and it's priced at just one low-level green crystal." After making the purchase, Zhou Zheng left. The shopkeeper bowed respectfully, "See you next time, dear customer." Once outside, Zhou Zheng went to a less crowded spot, bent down to examine his new item. Looking at it, he touched it, then pulled out his tablet, checking the information as he said, "Now, it's time to find a place to test out my new teammate." Outside the western town, a large crowd had gathered. A man with a loudspeaker was announcing, "The Wolf's Den is recruiting, requiring level 5 or above. 3 people from the Rhino Plains, level 7 or above, with armor-piercing weapons, are needed." Zhou Zheng stepped forward, smiling as he said, "You want to go to the Rhino Plains? Do you think I qualify?" The man with the loudspeaker looked him over and asked, "Level 7 is fine. Do you have an armor-piercing weapon?" Zhou Zheng replied nonchalantly, "No, I don't." Upon hearing this, the man turned away and cursed, "Then what are you contributing? Didn't you hear the requirements I mentioned?" Zhou Zhang, unfazed, presented a weapon and smiled with squinted eyes. "Isn't a high-ratio weapon acceptable? With 47% conductivity, it shouldn't be much worse than an armor-piercing weapon, right?" The man continued to criticize. "Sorry, we're hunting iron armor rhinos, only armor-piercing weapons can penetrate their armor." Zhou Zhang persisted, "How can you know if you don't give it a try?" The loudspeaker man, irritated, said, "You." At that moment, the captain of the Wolf Fong squad suddenly spoke up. "Forget it, Guang, let him go." Then the captain cheerfully greeted the participants. "Hello everyone, I am the captain of the Wolf Fong squad. This time, our recruitment reward is limited." The captain took out a piece of machinery and announced the mission. "Your task is to attract the attention of the iron armor rhino. I will be in charge of the attack. If no one has any objections, we will set off." As they traveled in the vehicle, everyone discussed among themselves. One person said, "Today is really lucky to be able to join the Wolf Fong squad. The three of us just need to do our jobs well, and we will definitely be rewarded handsomely." Zhou Zhang asked curiously, "Is the Wolf Fong squad really that formidable?" A person with tied hair sitting opposite replied, "Are you new here? The Wolf Fong squad is the highest level team. Don't you see that they are ignoring us because the three of us don't have any armor-piercing weapons?" At that moment, wolves suddenly appeared, chasing after the Wolf Fong squad's vehicle. One person shouted, "Captain, it's a pack of level 6 large Fong wolves." The captain was unfazed, pulling out a large gun and firing continuously. Bullets rained down on the level 6 large Fong wolves. The captain cheerfully exclaimed, "Perfect, we can use them as offerings." Zhou Zhang observed and secretly admired, "What bravery! If I'm not mistaken, each bullet fired must be made from a metal alloy." At that moment, a level 7 wolf charged towards the convoy. One person shouted a warning, "It's the large Fong Wolf King, everyone be careful." The level 7 large Fong Wolf King charged straight towards the vehicle of Zhou Zhang and his two companions, who were the three newcomers without any weapons. The large Fong Wolf King barreled directly towards Zhou Zhang. He wasn't afraid at all and stared directly at the level 7 large Fong Wolf King, ready to fight. But before the wolf could even touch him, a bullet shot through its head, killing it instantly. The new arrivals and the team standing behind him voiced their regret. "TSK, I wonder if this Wolf King can make up for the cost of that armor-piercing bullet." One of them continued, "The Wolf Fong squad went straight to using armor-piercing bullet level 8 from the start. Other teams out there wouldn't necessarily be able to recoup the value of a single bullet." After a while, the group reached the plains, where armored rhinos roamed. This was the Rhino's Plain, the final destination of this hunting journey. The leader of the Wolf Fong squad issued orders, "You three, split into 3 directions to lure the iron armor rhinos. Remember, don't lure more than 2 at a time." Zhou Zhang immediately acknowledged, "Understood." The captain folded his arms and called out, "All right, let's go." Following the order, the 3 members of Zhou Zhang's group quickly rushed off in different directions to lure the iron armor rhinos as instructed. The iron armor rhinos were calmly grazing on the grass. These were level 9 iron armor rhinos, incredibly difficult to hunt. Sharp arrows flew towards the rhinos, striking one of them, which let out a painful bellow. Hearing that noise, the other rhinos sensed the danger approaching and all of them rushed off in a frenzy to escape. Zhou Zhang stood on a branch, observing below, and saw 2 rhinos charging toward him. He smiled confidently, and the weapon in his hand disappeared, replaced by the one he had just acquired from Luo Tianshan. A system panel appeared, displaying stats: blood consumption, armor piercing value 11, electrical conductivity 53%. He smiled proudly, "Let's see what you're capable of." Then he jumped down from the branch, ready to face the iron armor rhinos. One of the iron armor rhinos charged violently into a tree, as if it had lost its mind. Zhou Zhang gripped his weapon, giving the rhino a sidelong glance, silently thinking, "Activate speed boost immediately." Countless afterimages of him appeared in the thick fog. He moved quickly and skillfully dodged the iron armor rhino's attacks. At the same time, he swung his weapon sharply at the rhino's body. Truly, with an armor-piercing value of 11, the blade sliced through the rhino's iron armor as smoothly as cutting through fruit. The rhino's eyes rolled back, and it died instantly. He gleefully said, as expected, "It didn't disappoint me. Cutting through a level 9 iron armor rhino's armor is like cutting tofu." Suddenly, a sound made him alert. He quickly glanced toward the source of the noise and, with swift agility, leapt upward, successfully dodging an attack from the 2 iron armor rhinos. He quickly wielded his weapon, smiling triumphantly. After checking, he decided it was time to get to the main task. He then ran to lure the iron armor rhinos, shouting loudly to attract them, "Come on, my esteemed guests, follow closely." The captain of the Wolf Fang squad sensed something approaching him and raised his hand to shield his eyes from the sun to get a clearer view. "Already?" he exclaimed. His subordinates quickly rolled up their sleeves, preparing to deal with the iron armor rhinos. It seemed that the kid named Zhou Zhang wasn't bad after all. The captain was quite pleased and thought to himself, "I knew I wasn't wrong in choosing him." Everyone in the squad shouted, "Now it's our turn." The captain of the Wolf Fang squad called out, "Zhou Zhang, you rest for now, we'll handle the rest." Then, the team swiftly surrounded the 2 massive iron armor rhinos. One was heavily injured, so they focused on taking it down first. One of Zhou Zhang's new team members picked up a gun, preparing to load a bullet. "I'll give it a try," he said, staring intently at the bullet in his hand. This made Zhou Zhang a bit surprised. Armor-piercing bullet level 9? If it really can kill the iron armor rhino, doesn't that make it a firearm? The bullet shot into the body of the iron armor rhino. The surrounding team members, busy positioning themselves for the battle, cursed loudly. The shooter felt disheartened, tossing the gun aside. As expected, relying on the kinetic energy from gunpowder can't unleash the full power of the armor-piercing bullet level 9. Wasted a bullet, that's a huge loss. Zhou Zhang stood nearby, disheartened as he listened to the man lamenting his wasted bullet. He turned his head, his gaze calculating, and then asked, "The weapons of their captain, the armor-piercing value is all level 9 or higher, right?" The man nodded and replied, "Yeah." He then added, "Actually, we just upgraded our armor-piercing weapons to level 9 before coming to the rhino plains." Glancing at the rampaging rhino, he continued, "Now it seems, even with a level 9 armor-piercing value, dealing with an iron armor rhino still takes a lot of effort." After a while of fighting, the Wolf Fang squad had successfully taken down the 2 iron armor rhinos. Everyone cheered joyfully, as expected. No matter what profession you're in, you need some capital. Today was a huge harvest. The captain of the Wolf Fang squad looked at Zhou Zhang and praised him, saying, "Let me know everyone's guild card numbers. We'll sell these materials in the West Town later, I'll handle the transaction." Hearing the captain talk about splitting the reward, Zhou Zhang was a bit confused. He raised his hand to his chin, puzzled, and asked, "Guild card? Is that the one for the graveyard?" The captain of the Wolf Fang squad responded, "That's right." Zhou Zhang scratched his head and laughed awkwardly, "It seems like I haven't done that yet." At the West Town, the martial artist guild branch had informed him, once a member reaches 10 stars, they will automatically be promoted to the next level. That's why Zhou Zhang was there now, waiting to get his membership card. The receptionist respectfully said, "Please wait a moment, I'll prepare your membership card." Before long, the membership card was firmly in his hand, with minimal information, Zhou Zhang's membership card. Looking at the card in his hand, he thought to himself, the Wolf Fang squad has just leveled up to 7 white stars. Standing in the middle of the area, he remained deep in thought. It seems like there's something for me to do in the graveyard after all. With a powerful step, he got off the vehicle, thinking and acting swiftly. He waved goodbye to everyone and left, saying, "I'll be back in a bit." "Thanks." The others didn't seem suspicious at all, just leaving him with a supportive cheer as they sped off. "Good luck, newbie." One of them even bluntly added, "Don't die." At that moment, Zhou Zhang summoned his mount, Iron Armor Cow, "Come forth." The mighty beast appeared, charging with its master, galloping swiftly along the trail, passing by other guild members, who were struck with awe and shock, exclaiming, "A cow! Zhou Zhang and his beast remained focused on a single objective. Reaching their destination, he quickly leaped off and began attacking the monsters surrounding the area. He issued his command, "Alright, start." After a barrage of continuous attacks, the monsters were still stunned, allowing Zhou Zhang to continue his relentless assault. But as they say, there's no such thing as a genius move, only the mistakes of the enemy that can be exploited. Not bad, not bad. On a nearby hill, two elderly men continuously praised him, using a spyglass to observe his fight. Shen Junhang handed the binoculars to his friend and said, "Mr. Li, take a look over there, there's a very interesting kid." Li Changming replied meaningfully, "Oh." Like his old friend, he couldn't help but praise, at such a young age, to have reached this level while dodging at close range, and he's already a level 7 martial artist. He continued with a smile, but his true strength must be at least level 10. It sounded quite impressive, but in reality, that was still not enough to fully describe the strange power of the young man. Shen Junhang boldly stated, "Look closely, the strength of this kid is unusual, I think he must be at least level 11. Upon hearing this, Li Changming focused more intently, his eyes fixed on the battle. Indeed, if this person matures, he will definitely become a top strongman. With their thoughts aligned, Shen Junhang responded, "So why should we turn a blind eye?" Understanding his intent, Li Changming immediately replied, "Let's go, we should meet this genius for a moment." Thus, the two of them leisurely made their way toward Zhou Zhang. Meanwhile, he had finished off the monsters and was sitting down to rest and regain his strength. Receiving the notification of his level up, he was visibly excited. "Wow, this is truly a good place, I've leveled up 2 ranks already and exploded 13 pieces of green crystal." The monsters he had defeated lay scattered on the ground, and he spotted one, licking his lips as he said, "I wonder if the meat of this thing is tasty. It seems like the last time the Wolf Fong team didn't bring any meat back." Looking at the corpses of the monsters once more, he hesitated slightly but then quickly made up his mind, "Forget it, there have been many people this year who haven't been able to eat meat, so let's not waste it." After thinking for a moment, Zhou Zhang chuckled with delight. "Aha, after all, my thief's backpack can hold anything. The task is done, but it's still not dark yet, so I won't easily waste that much time." Since it was still early, he decided to venture deeper for a bit more exploration. He continued to stride through the dim forest. But at that moment, Zhou Zhang sensed something unusual. He cautiously turned to attack the stranger. Unfortunately, the opponent was at a higher level and easily deflected his arm, calmly saying, "Kid, don't be tense, we mean no harm." Of course, he wouldn't let his guard down just because of that statement, so he seriously asked, "Who are you?" They introduced themselves in turn, "I am Shen Junhang." The other person also spoke up, "I am Li Changming." Immediately after, he coldly introduced himself, clasping his hands, "Zhou Zhang." After completing the cumbersome introduction, Shen Junhang got straight to the point, "Sorry, I want to inquire about something necessary first." However, before he could do anything, just lifting his glasses was enough to leave him stunned. "Only 7 stars, white rank." Shen Junhang frowned in surprise, "So you just registered yesterday?" "No wonder." Understanding the reason, he quickly instructed, "Mr. Li, hand me your communication device." "Can't you wait to go back and do it for him? Do you have to use mine?" Although Li Changming was not very pleased, he still obediently handed it over. Shen Junhang quickly reassured his old friend, "I'll compensate you later, don't be so stingy." Immediately after, Mr. Haofeng brought the communication device in front of Zhou Zhang and said, "Here, I've changed your profile into this communication device." Zhou Zhang looked astonished at their seemingly endless actions and asked, "What is this?" "Kid, this is a satellite communication device. Its range can cover half the country, and at the burial site, there can be no more than 100 people who own this." Li Changming eagerly explained. Unfortunately, a person with good intentions collided with an unintentional one. Zhou Zhang, feeling embarrassed, replied, "Such a wonderful thing, I can't afford it, no matter how much it costs." He thought these two were salespeople. Seeing the bewildered expression on his face, Shen Junhang laughed and said, "Just take it, this is a gift from us." Beside them, Mr. Li Tan was still sulking. His tone was filled with anger as he reproached, "You don't know how to appreciate it. the two of them hurriedly came and went. Shinjun Hang waved goodbye, not forgetting to remind, "We're leaving now, my contact number is on top, figure out how to use it yourself." Then both of them left, leaving Zhou Zhang bewildered with the strange item he had just received, still in shock as he wondered, is it real or fake? Are salespeople really coming to the hunting area to give away trial items now? He began to break out in a cold sweat, with 1,000 doubts swirling in his mind. What exactly does this mean? Why am I feeling a bit scared? Zhou Zhang stared at the satellite communication device, furrowing his brow as he sighed. Truly high-end equipment, needs to be thoroughly studied. Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock, as if he had discovered something special. It seemed like the device had a signal. He quickly turned it on and listened. "This is Zhou Zhang, please speak." He listened seriously as the other person spoke. On the other end of the line was none other than Shinjun Hang. He slowly reminded him, "I forgot to mention, a martial artist at your level shouldn't focus on killing mutated beasts, you should make the mutated beings your training partners." As he spoke, he chuckled, his tone taunting, "With your strength, still picking on level 9? Don't you find it boring?" Shinjun Hang's face suddenly became serious, and he began to speak with a tone full of sarcasm. "A martial artist should use life and death to hone oneself, challenging things that are beyond you." Zhou Zhang remained silent, pondering deeply without responding. The vehicle sped down the road, dust flying up in the air. After the call ended, Li Qingdan, who was driving, turned and asked curiously, "Leader, I still think the gift you gave him was a bit too much." Shinjun Hang calmly raised a finger to explain, "That's why I'm the leader, and you're just the high-level robbery guide. When looking at a problem, you need to look far ahead, Mr. Li." He grinned with pleasure as he analyzed, a martial artist traveling alone, just joining the martial artist guild. It's clear he's someone who doesn't like being tied down. If I rush to extend an invitation, he'll definitely refuse. Upon hearing this, Li Changming understood the purpose of his words and cheerfully responded, "So you want to engage diplomatically first, then proceed with military tactics." Shinjun Hang looked at the communication device in his hand, deep in thought, then replied seriously, "Someone like him, once he accepts the invitation, it's much easier. Any future tasks, he'll definitely hesitate to refuse." Li Changming praised him enthusiastically, "Leader, you're really crafty." Hearing this, Shinjun Hang coughed a few times, then defended himself, "What are you saying? That's called strategy." Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang was standing atop a high mountain, gazing down. He speculated, "This must be the Snake Python Valley on the map." He said this, then quickly downed a pink energy booster. Zhou Zhang smirked. He thought about the words Shinjun Hang had just said to him. That old man does have a point. As soon as the words left his lips, Zhou Zhang dove down like a moth to a flame. As he neared the ground, he swiftly deployed his parachute to stabilize his body in mid-air. From above, he saw the large dragon and snake creatures twisting below, but Zhou Zhang remained unbothered. He grinned with amusement. "Well, let's just give it a shot." Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, half a month had gone by. A pair of determined legs stood amidst a swirl of green energy. It was none other than Zhou Zhang, standing face to face with two green dragon and snake creatures. They looked at him with greedy eyes, constantly flicking out their long, serpentine tongues. Their gaze suddenly became sharp, glowing like car headlights, and their faces turned unusually ferocious. The pack of dragon and snake lunged to overwhelm Zhou Zhang, but with the radiance of the protagonist, he dodged effortlessly, moving nimbly to avoid their attacks. He grinned smugly as if he had just discovered a secret martial arts technique. Zhou Zhang's body was now surrounded by a powerful green energy, and his hands radiated a strong yellow force. He cheerfully said, "Finally mastered it." Outside, Lei Hu's group was advancing deeper into the forest, and the atmosphere felt strange. A young man with gray hair and a worried expression spoke up, "Why do I hear the sound of fighting? Could there be a martial artist down there?" Lei Hu, a large and muscular man with a scarred face and a grim expression, replied without changing his demeanor, "It's probably fighting with the snake python." He slapped the gray-haired young man on the shoulder, laughing as he added, "With poison that dense, even a high-level martial artist wouldn't be able to withstand it." The eyes of the person widened in astonishment upon hearing this, exclaiming, "That's true." Suddenly, a hand emerged from below the abyss, looking quite eerie, causing everyone to be taken aback. Zhou Zhang, with a cheerful expression, climbed up, leaving the other two utterly stunned, mouths agape as they shouted, "Huh?" The young man with gray hair, sweating profusely, looked at him and questioned, "Captain, didn't you say that no martial artist could withstand this poison?" Zhou Zhang appeared to be in excellent spirits. He showed no signs of being affected by the poison and calmly greeted everyone. Lei Hu quickly responded, "Hello." But at that moment, Zhou Zhang was in a hurry. He turned his back and said to them, "I have other matters to attend to, so I won't disturb you any longer." The others behind him looked bewildered, reluctantly saying, "Goodbye." Suddenly, Lei Hu clenched his teeth, feeling that something was off. He thought to himself, "Something's not right." After a moment, he called out to Zhou Zhang loudly, "Please stop." Zhou Zhang turned around calmly and asked, "What is it?" Lei Hu looked him up and down, assessing him. Although this person was only at level 7, his aura was incredibly strong. Zhou Zhang, with a half-joking, half-serious expression, teased, "I have nothing on me to give you." He said this while an immense green energy radiated around him. Without hesitation, Lei Hu made a lucrative proposal to him. "Well, here's the deal. We've received a mission and would like to invite you to join us. Are you interested?" The gray-haired young man standing next to him seemed to disagree. He spoke up to stop him, "Captain, are you out of your mind?" He continued, speaking with concern, "This person has an unclear background, and he's only at level 7. The others also agreed with this point. "Captain, think this through." Their tone was condescending, belittling Zhou Zhang. "This is the team ranked 37th in the burial grounds, how could we be so reckless?" Hearing his subordinates murmur, Lei Hu raised his voice to reassure them, "Enough talking, I know how to handle this myself." Standing in front of the massive Lei Hu, Zhou Zhang showed no fear. He even laughed heartily and replied, To be honest, when it comes to temporarily joining others, I know my place." He paused suddenly, glaring at Lei Hu, and said, "However." Without hesitation, Zhou Zhang tightened his grip on Lei Hu's hand in a somewhat friendly manner, then flashed a bright smile and added, "Occasionally having some fun won't hurt. I accept your invitation." Everyone around them was utterly astonished. While Zhou Zhang was discussing with Lei Hu's group, suddenly, his new communication device vibrated and announced, "Zhou Zhang, take out your communication device, I'm sharing this mission with you." When Zhou Zhang took out the communication device, both Lei Hu and the gray-haired young man showed clear surprise. They stared at the new gadget in his hand, then widened their eyes and frowned, stammering, "This?" The gray-haired young man exclaimed, "Satellite communication device?" One of the group members couldn't help but murmur, "I heard that only 60 people in this burial ground have one of these." They couldn't stop asking, bombarding him with questions, "Hey, where did you get this?" Seeing their curious expressions, Zhou Zhang happily replied, "What's up? Got something to say?" The gray-haired young man quickly waved his hands with a delighted face, "No. Lei Hu felt secretly pleased and thought to himself, "This kid is indeed not simple. This kid's not ordinary," he muttered inwardly. Zhou Zhang quickly powered on the communication device, and the screen displayed the mission, Pioneer Cone 118, explore an undetermined area and document the exotic creatures in the region. Lei Hu read through the mission and crossed his arms, his face showing concern as he spoke loudly, "Area C-118 is near a zone where level 12 exotic creatures appear. If we're unlucky, we might even encounter a level 13 one. But the rewards and contributions for this pioneering mission are huge." The gray-haired young man grumbled angrily, "That damn bastard, making us take on a mission where there's no guarantee we'll come back." Lei Hu, feeling guilty, responded, "It's all my fault for losing to that bastard from the Haicho clan. Now, my men have to go on this risky mission with me." Everyone, seeing this, turned around to comfort Lei Hu, "Captain, it's not your fault." The others agreed, "That's right, moreover, if we succeed, the rewards won't be small." In response to Lei Hu's group's concerns, Zhou Zhang, however, stared intently at the device screen. He grinned with delight, "A pioneer, huh? I like this mission." Zhou Zhang's strong legs moved forward across the lush green grass. Lei Hu and his group ventured deeper into the forest. Ahead of them appeared a small river, shrouded in thick mist. Danger loomed as two white lions, strange creatures, faced off against each other on the opposite bank. They relentlessly displayed their strength, clashing fiercely. One member of the group used binoculars to observe from a distance and gasped, "So strong." The young man with gray hair, his face full of worry, advised, "Captain, we can't go through there. To reach area cone 118, we must cross the den of these beasts." Lei Hu, hearing this, fell silent, contemplating, but did not respond. Just when it seemed like they were at a deadlock, Zhou Zhang spoke up, "We don't need to cross there." Upon hearing this, everyone was stunned and turned to look at him. Zhou Zhang, confidently and with great enthusiasm, continued, "Let me lure the white beast away." Everyone couldn't believe their ears, they were worried and asked, "You? What?" Zhou Zhang glanced at them and quickly reassured, "Don't worry." Lei Hu stood behind, confused, calling out in a tone of advice, "Zhou Zhang, don't force yourself." Zhou Zhang said little. He took a deep breath and stomped down hard on the ground, creating a loud bang. He charged forward like a moth to a flame, proudly responding, "I'm not foolish enough to go and throw my life away." The young man with gray hair watched, sweating profusely, and asked Lei Hu, "Captain, is he really okay? Is he not just bragging?" But Lei Hu, regaining his composure, replied, "Have you forgotten where we met him?" The person quickly recalled that day and awkwardly answered, "The Snake Python Valley." Lei Hu returned to his normal demeanor and explained to his worried subordinate, "A person without skills wouldn't be able to climb out of there unscathed." Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang exuded a powerful aura. He tightened his grip on the dagger in his hand, ready to fight. Fearlessly, he approached the snarling white lion in front of him. Upon getting closer, he realized something: there was not just one. Zhou Zhang frowned, sighed, and calculated silently with an expressionless face, "There are quite a few of them." As soon as he finished speaking, a source of golden light emanated from him. "It seems I need to put on a good show to lure you away." Suddenly, fireworks exploded in the sky with a loud noise, causing Lei Hu's group to be taken aback. Lei Hu stared through his binoculars, mouth agape, asking, "What does this kid think he's doing?" The young man with gray hair, eyes wide in disbelief, looked up at the sky and softly said, "It's fireworks." Zhou Zhang had successfully drawn the white lion's attention to himself, causing it to forget about the group. He joyfully shouted, "Stay close." Lei Hu, still looking through the binoculars, saw something that shocked him. With a smile, he urged the others, "He really did it. Don't waste any more time, let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, the group quickly took the opportunity to jump over the river ahead, the mist around them thick. After reaching safety, the group collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. The young man with black hair spoke up, asking, "Captain, will Zhou Zhang be all right? I'm exhausted." Hearing this, Lei Hu hesitated, unable to respond. At that moment, a loud roar from the white lion echoed through the dark forest, making everyone tense up and look back. Lei Hu suddenly realized the danger and said with concern, "That roar. Those mutated beasts must be above level 12. This only made the young man with gray hair even more anxious. Does that mean he?" Lei Hu sank further into despair, lowering his head, and sadly muttered, "Brothers, Lei Hu. I'm sorry. It seems that Lei Hu has reached a dead end. This mission is very likely to end in failure." Upon hearing this, everyone's spirits dampened, but before Lei Hu could finish speaking, Zhou Zhang appeared like a deity, smiling brightly and waving a friendly greeting, "I'm back." When Lei Hu heard Zhou Zhang's voice, he was taken aback and turned to look at his group. They were all trembling as if they had encountered a ghost, their eyes wide and mouths agape in astonishment. Zhou Zhang pointed at himself and asked, "What's wrong? Aren't you happy to see me?" The young man with gray hair stepped forward, sighing, and called out Zhou Zhang. Then, he took Zhou Zhang's hand with a face full of admiration and respect. "I'm in awe, you are an absolute master." At that moment, a strong hand from Lei Hu also rested on Zhou Zhang's shoulder. He was overjoyed. "Zhou Zhang, thanks to you, we made it here." The young man with green hair agreed with this sentiment. He stood to the side, nodding vigorously, "That's right, that's right." Lei Hu continued slowly, his voice filled with praise. Your speed and agility are definitely far beyond ours. Saying this, Lei Hu handed the detector to Zhou Zhang and said, this detector is for you. We just need to achieve a detection probability of 60% to complete the mission. Zhou Zhang stared intently at the device in his hand, the detector's screen displaying a reading of 1%. With a confident expression, he said a simple, let's get going. 2 days later, in a dense forest, with birds soaring in the sky, the detector showed 60%. Zhou Zhang, thrilled, held up the detector and cheered loudly in front of the group, brothers, the mission is complete. Upon hearing this, everyone hugged each other tightly, overjoyed, saying, this time, I can finally trade for a better bulletproof vest. The young man with gray hair also rejoiced for his friend, we've hit the jackpot. After completing the mission, everyone looked relaxed and content, speaking to one another, this is amazing. Lei Hu's group quickly arrived at a towering building, visibly eager about what awaited them inside. The communication device displayed an excellent signal, with a 6-star rating. Lei Hu stared intently at Zhou Zhang and asked, what are you planning to do next? Zhou Zhang smiled faintly, the weariness was evident on his face after days of tension. He replied, I'm a bit tired lately, so I'll take a break for a while. Then, he reached out and shook Lei Hu's hand with a sense of camaraderie and respect. Lei Hu, fully approving of his plan, complimented him, that's good, whenever you're free, come find me. It's been a pleasure working with you. Zhou Zhang nodded, his gaze softening at the invitation, I'll contact you later. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and walked away. Once Zhou Zhang's figure disappeared from view, the young man with gray hair turned to Lei Hu, unable to hide his curiosity, and asked, Captain, why didn't you invite him to join our lightning god team? He gazed into the distance, his voice calm but carrying a deeper meaning, for a strong man like him, our team is still too small. Rather than having him resent us, it's better to befriend him. Lei Hu, feeling a sense of excitement, reminded his team, don't forget, there's still another reward waiting for us. In a room nearby, a middle-aged man was leisurely smoking, clearly enjoying it. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, surprising him, I didn't expect you all to actually survive and complete the mission. He sat back in his chair and ordered, Lei Hu. At the command, Lei Hu understood immediately. He quickly opened a mirror, revealing a piece of paper along with 3 star-shaped badges. As the mirror closed, a cold voice echoed from Lei Hu, filled with a sense of foreboding, For Seal, I told you, everything you owe us will be made to come back to you. With those words, Lei Hu turned and walked out of the door, leaving Fur Seal sitting in stunned silence, trembling with rage. Fur Seal blared angrily at the person beside him, asking, Did you find out? Who exactly helped them? A subordinate quickly approached, pulling out a photograph and speaking respectfully, Brother Hai, this is the one we managed to capture. The person who worked with them on the mission that day was this man. Fur Seal stared intently at the photo in his hands. It was an image of Zhou Zhang. A sinister smile spread across his face, and his laughter echoed like the sound of impending danger. Very well, this is very good. At that moment, Zhou Zhang's newly purchased car was speeding down the main road. On a desolate stretch of highway, Zhou Zhang sat in his old vehicle, his eyes focused as he navigated through the bumpy road. He furrowed his brow, thinking about his current situation, muttering to himself, I have to admit, the only benefit of the apocalypse is cheap cars. However, by a tree along the road, someone was lurking, watching his movements through binoculars. The person observed for a moment before reporting to someone else that Zhou Zhang appeared in the east, looks like he's heading toward the burial site. The voice on the other end quickly processed the information, got it. Lin Wu Tian's face was filled with murderous intent, his grip tightening on the sword in his hand. He sneered, speaking in a low, mocking tone, Brother Hai really values that Zhou Zhang. He thought to himself, he's just a level 7 martial artist. Pick anyone at random, that should be enough to take care of him, right? Suddenly, a fleet of cars appeared, blocking Zhou Zhang's path. The person commanding them shouted loudly, Don't let him escape. But Zhou Zhang was no ordinary driver. He was an expert behind the wheel and easily broke through the encirclement, escaping with ease. The group refused to give up and accelerated, pursuing him from behind. Lin Wutian watched him through the car window, his face dark with murderous intent, wishing he could kill him on the spot. When Zhou Zhang noticed the pursuers, his eyes widened in surprise. But this only amused him more, as he grinned widely, his smile as refreshing as a cool autumn breeze. Suddenly, gunshots rang out from behind, and Lin Wutian's voice echoed through the chaos, shouting, "Open fire!" Dozens of guns fired relentlessly at Zhou Zhang's car. The sound of bullets tearing through the air filled the road, and Zhou Zhang's car was hit hard, exploding in a violent burst right in the middle of the highway. The deafening roar of the blast was followed by a cloud of thick smoke, and a chaotic scene unfolded, engulfing the space. Lin Wutian, watching from the enemy side, saw the car explode and his face contorted in regret. What a shame! A good car like that. The desolate landscape and the faint sunlight filtering through the smoke from the burning wrecks only added to the grim atmosphere. Lin Wutian stood surveying the area, his expression serious. He quickly inquired, "Did you get everything on film?" Another man, checking his equipment, nodded in confirmation, "Got it all." Believing that Zhou Zhang had been torn apart in the explosion, Lin Wutian spoke with confidence, his voice firm as he commanded, "Withdraw the team." But just as he was about to turn away, something unexpected happened. A massive missile suddenly shot through the air directly overhead. An explosion much more powerful than the previous one erupted with a deafening roar. Lin Wutian only had time to glance up at the sky before missiles rained down upon them. But by then, it was too late. A catastrophic explosion shook the ground, sending shockwaves through the area, and everything was swallowed by flames. Amidst the raging fire, a figure emerged unscathed. Zhou Zhang, sitting comfortably in a secure spot, remained completely unharmed. His voice, cold and challenging, echoed through the smoke, "If you want to play with me, then you'll play with my rules." The enemy group panicked, spinning around to locate the source of the voice. Lin Wutian screamed in fear, his voice trembling with disbelief, Who dares to ambush us?" Suddenly, a massive flame erupted in the middle of the formation, causing everyone to scream in agony, "It's too hot, it's too hot. We're going to burn alive." Lin Wutian's eyes widened, stunned as if he had just seen the one responsible for this chaos. Zhou Zhang stepped out from the smoke, his cold eyes scanning the panicked crowd. Lin Wutian gradually recognized him and exclaimed, "It's you." Zhou Zhang looked at him and slowly asked, "Surprised?" His eyes were firm, as if to say, "Before I figure out who you all are, I'm not dying yet." Lin Wutian, the commanding officer, stood up amidst his subordinates, drew his weapon, and sneered with a murderous tone, "Then I'll make sure you die clearly. We are from the Sea Sky Company. You helped Lei Hu and caused us to lose control of the Haiyang building. Tell me, do you deserve to die?" Though he was scorched by the flames, he still stood strong and asked. Zhou Zhang smirked, his voice laced with challenge, "Oh, them?" Lin Wutian grew impatient, glaring at him before shouting, "Now you can be a transparent ghost, go die already." He then commanded his subordinates to attack, "Kill him for me." The others, receiving the command, disregarded their own safety and rushed toward him. No matter how hard they swung their blades, slicing vertically and horizontally, they couldn't lay a finger on Zhou Zhang. He dodged with ease and moved swiftly. He even used a short-range teleportation to avoid fatal strikes. Lin Wutian screamed when he saw this. Short-range teleportation can only be used by a strongman. Zhou Zhang paused at a safe distance, letting out a cold laugh as he responded, "Good guess." Unfortunately, at that moment, a blue energy started to surround his body, causing Lin Wutian and his group to gape in astonishment. At this moment, Lin Wutian's warning voice rang out from afar, causing panic among his men, "Be careful, that guy is extremely powerful." Zhou Zhang stood amidst the wreckage, his gaze calm but filled with murderous intent. Facing him was the leader of the enemy group, his eyes full of rage and helplessness. Zhou Zhang smirked and coldly said, "It's too late." No sooner had he finished speaking than he shot forward like lightning, striking down one person after another, causing them to suffer severe casualties. He concluded his attack and said with disdain, "Level 9, and that's all you've got?" Behind his words, flames continued to rage fiercely. Lin Wutian panicked, stuttering, How is this possible? What just happened?